So this is the theme of our talk, health and well-being for individual and collective. And now we'll go into details of how we can bring about health and well-being at both individual's life and collective life. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so what we are going to be talking about is, in order to bring about health and well-being, we need to have idea of what the new science paradigm is, consciousness to cosmology to life origin and evolution. So that will be one topic that we'll be talking about. Next, we'll be talking about meditation, ideating on consciousness, promoting psychosomatic health and well-being and liberation and enlightenment. Next, we'll be talking about meditation benefits for body, mind, and spirit. Now I want to talk about something which is not there. We keep talking about wellness, and yes, we should do this and that. It's important for us to have legislations promoting wellness. And this is what I'm going to be talking about also after point 3. What legislations we should have to promote wellness. Then the fourth point is transforming our world. I'm very aware of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations. We'll be presenting 10 of these goals. And then I want to talk about how we want to implement these United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I'll talk about that, how we can set up a global network of universities involved in United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So this is what we are going to be talking about. We want to bring about holistic wellness all over the world. So let's start with the next one. Okay, so the new science paradigm, consciousness to cosmology to life origin and evolution. The fundamental entity pervading the entire creation is cosmic consciousness. Unit consciousness of living beings is derived from cosmic consciousness. And human evolution entails developing high levels of consciousness until the unit consciousness can merge with cosmic consciousness. So the practice of yoga, which is union of unit consciousness with cosmic consciousness, involves meditation, ideating on consciousness by means of mantras. Next, please. The next stage in this science paradigm is that consciousness devolves into cosmic mind. And cosmic mind then, by means of these 5 fundamental factors, provides the constituents of a physical universe. In other words, by means of these 5 fundamental factors, we have physical universe, and physical universe are operating all over, expanding. You can find out from physics. Physics people say that the universe is expanding all the time. This is because the cosmic mind is continually developing new universes all the time. Out of these 5 factors, ethereal, aerial, luminous, liquid, and solid, these 5 factors give us physical universe. The first 3 factors give us luminous universe. Okay, so this is the difference. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The third stage in the development is that cosmic mind emanates microvita, which then energizes to form ectoplasmic mind. Under the influence of microvita, matter evolves into structures by means of synthetic reactions and then causes these primitive life structures. So essentially now, how life is originated in a primitive form on this earth. This is what the third stage is. After that, now we have the process of organic evolution giving rise to plants and animals, and then eventually to conscious human beings. At this point, meditation comes into picture, how meditation will cause psychic dilation of the unit mind, eventually to parapsychic and intuitional development, and how psychic development of the mind culminates in mental liberation. So this is what we are after. We want to liberate ourselves from the embedded impressions in our mind due to what we have been interacting in this life and previous life. Now we are going to be talking about meditation. What is the process of meditation? May I have the next slide, please? So what is meditation? Meditation is connecting our unit mind with cosmic mind and thereby getting liberation from the embedded impressions in the mind, and thereby attaining a divine state of enlightenment. How do we do that? We ideate on the divine entity. But in order to ideate on the divine entity, we should be conscious that the divine entity is pervading all around us, outside, in our home. And if we are aware of this, this is the basis of how we should do meditation. When the divine entity, when we recognize that the divine entity is pervading all around us, actually the divine entity is waiting for us to just get away from our mundane worlds and connect with it. In other words, meditation is living with the divine entity. Meditation is taking time off to live with the divine entity. When we do that, then the divine entity is ready to put divine energy into us. Divine energy into us, into our mind, will then remove all the embedded impressions, and this is how we become divine. Also, when the divine entity puts divine energy into us, our mind gets expanded, our mind gets lit up, and this is what we call enlightenment. When then eventually, when all the embedded impressions or samskaras are removed from the mind, we become divine. So these two words of enlightenment and divine are abstract words, but if we practice meditation, then they become what actually is. Enlightenment essentially is associated with how the mind becomes lit up and expanded, and then divinity is associated with how when we get liberated from our impressions on the mind, we become divine. Okay, so we go to the next slide. Now, we will be talking about also how meditation will help us to cure ailments. And this is important. So can we show the next the picture, Jimmy? Yes. Let's look at this picture. Okay, see, we see here the connection between chakras and endocrine glands. All these chakras, we go from Muladhara chakra to Swadhisthana chakra to Manipur chakra to Anahat chakra, Vishuddha chakra, Ajnana chakra, Sahasrara chakra. They all have corresponding glands. And so when we energize these chakras by means of mantra, we are also affecting these endocrine glands. And as a result of that, endocrine glands, they will secrete hormonal secretions, and that will affect the organs. This is how we can cure ailments. Okay. If you, for instance, concentrate here, you can cure diabetes on this Manipur chakra. If you concentrate on Anahat chakra, you can cure, heart ailments. If you concentrate on these upper two chakras, you can cure neurological ailments. So this is what meditation is all about. On the one hand, to get enlightenment and become divine. On the other hand, to cure ailments as a result of this. So just keep this in mind, how the chakras are connected to the endocrine glands. And when you ideate on consciousness, this is what happens. We have the next slide. Okay, so let's talk about meditation benefits for body, mind, and spirit. Meditation reduces pain, boosts the immune system, lowers blood pressure, and reduces heart risk. As far as effect on the brain and mind, increases gray matter, cultivates willpower, builds focus and concentration, and boosts cognitive function. Spirit builds self-knowledge, helps relationship satisfaction, increases compassion, and improves empathy. So these are the meditation benefits for body, mind, and spirit. And the other thing one should also recognize that when we do meditation, we are just not doing it for ourselves. We are doing it for the common good. So this is another important aspect. Okay. Now I want to just, Timmy, we'll wait for this, but I want to talk about wellness promoting legislations. We can keep talking about, yes, we should do this and we should do that, but essentially things come about from legislations. So the first thing we should have is healthcare for all. In United States, unfortunately, healthcare is privatized. And this is why we have big problems. This is why a big percentage of people don't have good health. We should remove privatized medical insurance and have healthcare for all. Single payer healthcare for all, as we have in Canada, as we have in Europe. Second thing we should do is affordable education for all. The problem in America is that we have 50% of the universities are private and 50% are public universities. Private universities, tuition fees, 70,000 tuition fees. It's just unaffordable. So we should have affordable education for all. The next one is we should change prisons into reformative centers. It is not fair, even if somebody has done something wrong in a big way, you want to put that person in prison, but you want to reform the person. And so we should change prisons from being so-called, enclosed cells to reformative centers. This is important. The next thing, as we know in the United States, every day things are happening. Police brutality in a big way. My proposal is that we cannot end police brutality by just saying police reform, because police people spend 6 months in these, being trained. I want to substitute that by a bachelor's degree in policing. Every, you may say, profession needs a degree. The police profession has to have a degree. Bachelor's degree in policing will teach police people how to be compassionate, how to relate to community. By interacting with colleagues in the university, they will also develop a broad focus. They will also develop humanism, neo-humanism. So this is my recommendation. This is probably I have not heard anybody talk about this bachelor's degree in policing. And then finally, when I go out, say for a walk, I see people homeless on the pavements. Nobody cares, because cars are driving by. And you have to walk in order to see the homeless and in order to help them. So I want us that we should have injunction that all cities must take care of homeless and they should have provision to provide shelter for homeless. So these are the 6 legislations that I want us to pass in order to promote wellness in a big way. Okay, next, let's go to the next slide. Jimmy, please. Transforming our world, United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. First one, end poverty in all its forms everywhere. Second, end hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. Third point, ensure healthy living and promote well-being for all at all ages. Fourth point, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong opportunities for all. We are talking about that. Even in the US, we don't have inclusive and equitable quality education. Even in the US, we don't have this. All of these things are very important for you may say, developing countries, African countries. Achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable modern energy. US is lagging behind in that. Promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, productive employment, and decent work. This will end poverty. Build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Reduce inequality within and among countries. Now, these are big, you may say, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. But in order to implement them, this is my suggestion, that we form a global network of universities involved in implementing United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. When we have this global network, then universities will work with one another to implement all of these things. Primarily, universities in developed countries should be working with universities in developing countries to make sure that all the 17 goals, United Nations Development Goals, can be implemented. This is my proposal.